10 haunted houses that actually exist. I do videos like this twice a week, and if you like this video, subscribe with a bell so you don't miss my next video. Villisca Axe Murder House. The Villisca Axe murders occurred between the evening of June 9th, 1912 and the early morning of June 10, 1912 in the town of Villisca in southern west Iowa. 8 victims had severe head wounds from an axe. 6 of the 8 victims were children. To this day, you can go on a tour inside the house. The location of the house is 508 East 2nd Street, Villisca, Iowa, United States. Manresa Castle Hotel. Manresa Castle ghostly guests are said to include a man of the cloth who hung himself in room 302 and a woman who leaped to her death out of a window of room 306. Guests of rooms 15, 19 and 17 in the Bishop Victorian Hotel have all reported an unnerving spirit, and the place is said to be haunted by at least 10 spirits, including the former sea captain who constructed the hotel, and the lady in blue, also known as Miss Clare, who mostly appears in the room 3 and 4. The address to this haunted castle is 651 Cleveland Street, Port St. Town, Washington, 98368, United States. Morris Jamal Mansion. The Morris Jamal Mansion has stood in New York City since before the Revolutionary War. Built in 1765, the house served as a war room for General George Washington and home for Aaron Burr. It's got a ton of history and just as many ghost stories. If there are such things as ghosts, they are here, said paranormal investigator Vincent Carbone, who also gives tours at the mansion. He also said, "I haven't seen much, but I also heard disembodied voices and footsteps. I've also heard objects moving. Other staff members have seen things, and they've also heard things, including activity in Aaron Burr's former bedroom." Sawyer Castle. This castle was the residence of Anton Sawyer. He had married his wife Francesca in Vienna, Austria, at 18 and a half years old. Sawyer Castle seems to attract many strange and wild stories. Legends tell of a woman who hung herself in the tall tower, stories of buried treasure and buried bodies. A deranged husband supposedly murdered his entire family in the castle and buried their bodies in the backyard before killing himself. The Octagon House. The Octagon House is allegedly one of the most haunted homes in DC. The oldest of the Octagon's ghost legends is that of the mysterious ringing of the servants' call bells, just one of the legends linked to the African American slaves who once lived there. When the house had call bells to summon servants, the spirits of the dead slaves would announce their presence by ringing these bells loudly. The ghostly bell ringing is believed to have first occurred in the mid-1800s. Washoe County Courthouse. The 1909 Washoe County Courthouse is believed to be haunted by unknown ghosts who had unhappy dealing with the court system. Ghost or ghost-like images of people have been seen moping around the grounds, and witnesses have described cold spots and an overpowering feeling of sadness and despair. If you had paranormal experience here or have additional information about this location, leave it in the comments. Levy House. This place is haunted by many ghostly figures. One paranormal investigator reported she encountered 3 children in the attic of this house. Sounds of running footsteps have probably been heard on the 2nd and 3rd floor hallways. Unexplained cold spots, cold breezes and chills have probably been felt by the living, especially in the rooms located in the back of the house on the second and third floors. Feelings of uneasiness, headaches are probably experienced in certain parts of the mansion, like the cellar, attic, and stairways. The Bowers Mansion. It is rumored to be full of spiritual activity, perhaps due to the fact that Sandy Bowers married Eli Cohen, who liked to read fortunes with crystal balls and hold sessions. After a string of bad luck, Sandy died and Eli lost the mansion to foreclosure. She became known as the famous Washu seeress, just to be able to make a living and perhaps reside here still. Witnesses have described cold spots, eerie mists, unexplained voices, and a ghostly figure. Fairmont Springs Hotel. This 129-year-old hotel has more than a few residents who've checked in, but never checked out. Here are just a few of the ghostly figures you might encounter at the Fairmont Springs. Number 1. The Bride. The story of the ghost bride dates back to the late 1920s. The story goes that the young couple's wedding day, the bride, decked out on her wedding gown, descended one of the hotel's marble staircases. Something startled her, causing her to slip and fall. Some say she caught her heel in the hem of her dress. Whatever the cause, the end result is the bride died on those steps. Number 2. Sam the Bellman. Stories of Sam Macaulay, an old Scotsman who was head bellman during the 60s and 70s, have been circulating around the hotel since his passing in 1975. Supposedly Sam is a helpful sort of spirit. The most stories involving him mention some service he provided to staff or guests. Tower of London, England. There are many ghost stories out there, but here's one of them. One young warden was up in the Bayward Tower, reading the paper. Suddenly, next to the fireplace, the warden noticed a pair of medieval-looking men smoking clay pipes. As he stared, one of the men turned and stared back. Then the moment was over. The man vanished.